All right, what is going on, YouTube? Hey, Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, I need to make this video because it's been on my mind. We just got the Kremlin, and I feel like it's just a point in time in Legends where we need to discuss the direction of the game, but also just the absolute spam slop that the wargaming development team is releasing into the game. Now, this is absolutely nothing new. It's a topic that's been discussed multiple times. PQ, potato quality, has probably the most well articulated video on this topic about aircraft carriers and how they just don't necessarily fit into the game. Now, in a game like this, obviously, you're going to have some form of spam, some form of torpedo, stealth type, damage output, the nuclear tipped torpedoes on the Shima. But when you get a ship like the Kremlin that's supposed to be as strong as it is, and amongst all of the CCs, it's sort of unanimous that the Kremlin is just very mid. You have to question, is Legends headed in the right direction? And me personally, I think it's doing okay for what it is. It's not to the World of Tanks arty yet, or the super carriers on PC, or super ships, where you've got a Des Moines, a quad quintuple turret Des Moines. However, this ship, which and there's multiple factors at play here. The Kremlin, we all know. I very vividly remember watching Flambass's video on the Petro and the Kremlin. Like, the Kremlin was a super battleship, and he's off citadeling it with a Petro, which is why that video sticks in my mind. But I think all of us have this expectation that the Kremlin is supposed to be one of the top premium creme de la cremes, if you will, type battleships, and it really just isn't, in my opinion. Now, again, only the CCs have this ship, so you're just going to have to trust us on our assessment. And I'm not going off of the games that I played on stream. I'm going off of a few other games that I played, and just the overall consensus from the vast majority of the CCs, who typically have a more informed opinion. Again, that opinion is still subjective, but besides the game where I was HE spamming, I did manage a few decent games where I am impactful. But even playing in a division, I mean, just look at, like, I have a 25% win rate, and at a 70% super unicum or unicum player has a now again, that's only 10 battles, but if you take the aggregate of my stats here and apply that to the Kremlin, it should be much better. Now, with that being said, you look at the attractive damage, 1.5 per game with a 260 max and a 2.4 max there. Let me remove my stupid head so you guys can see the max stats there. But even with those numbers, I still feel like the ship is lacking in certain departments. Now, Wargaming has told us, based on the very limited number of games that we have played, she seems to be performing average. Again, it's not that she's at the bottom end of the list. But even with those numbers, I still feel like the ship is lackluster. And I think it's because of the spam slop that is in this game. And I'll give you a great example. Let's go ahead and look at a few of the ships that were recently released here in terms of the Gudanlu as well as the Aki. And you just look at their ship's capabilities, and it's very evident that any ship that is supposed to be a mid-range brawler, which the Kremlin is, like people in yesterday's video, I think a few of them were trolling based on like my comments and just the relationship I have with you guys. But people were like, bro, if you're just gonna shoot HE, you should play the Kremlin. No fucking shit, dude. Okay? But when I'm going against 3 fucking Akis with airstrikes and the special perk, which can drop fucking 2 strikes of 12 torpedo planes, I'm not gonna put my ship in a position to just be obliterated in the first 5 minutes of the game. And at the point at which I moved back, I had already lost 3 teammates, and we were down 300 points. So yeah, I was relinquished to kiting and shooting HE. With that being said, though, you have the Aki, we now have the Guden in the bureau, and you couple that with the Shima, the Holland, the Zhao, the Yoshino, the Colbert, the Smolensk is on the way, and all of these spam slop that is just abundant in pretty much every tier from tier 5, tier 6 up. This ship is just not going to perform well, especially given to the regular players. It's a damage farming pinata. With that being said, I think there's still potential for this ship. In games when you're not gonna, the Aki, the popularity of the Aki and the Guden will die down eventually, but it's still just a random roll of the dice what you're going to get in those particular games. So I do think if they released sort of a John Fisher type commander that was tailor made for the Kremlin, with similar to the German battle cruisers where you get the extra heals and the extra damage cons, a defensive commander, and made the ship maybe a touch more accurate. Now, of course, the Russians do get that extra dispersion or favorable dispersion inside 12 kilometers, which is what the ship is meant. As I said, mid-range brawling. However, it doesn't have that. So because it doesn't have that, the ship is just not going to perform well. And results are pretty evident here. Lev Gawler is a decent. That's probably why I was doing so well. So I was running fucking Lev spamming HE in this thing. I do think Lev does pretty well, especially with gyrating drill bits. However, the ship just feels super mid. And it's okay. Not every ship has to be incredible, but I think our expectations from the community was that it's not mid. But running a ship like this, or a commander like this, Razia here, will definitely help improve that. But that, with that being said, I don't love that in order to have a favorable experience, you have to get one of these giant tittied Azure Lane commanders that you spend 200 and you can buy them outright. But what is the 71,000 doubloons, which is what, $200, $250. So yeah, that's the problem we're running into is the spam slop, and not something I didn't even mention except at the very beginning is aircraft carriers. This ship is going to be eaten alive by carriers. Now the AA is decent, but that doesn't matter when carriers can just the Kaga, right? And that's tier 7, but the Hakuyu, when you can just print planes and continue to print planes, it doesn't matter what the AA defense is. You couple that with someone shooting HE or breaking the AA defense, or the modules of AA, which is a mechanic in this game, and the ship is insanely vulnerable. You take a very slow, non-maneuverable target with not the best torpedo protection. So somebody said that it has the same, I think it was PG, said this has the same torpedo protection as Venezia. 28%. Yeah. I mean, like, what's Colombo just for 31%? So yeah. What is, like, I think the American battleships have to be a lot more. What is Ohio? Yeah, 37%. So again, you combine all of that, and I think that's where the community, at least the CCs, are at, in terms of rating the Kremlin. So I didn't want to make this video and just complain the whole time, but I wanted to express my thoughts and concerns with the community because that's the reason I do this shit. But Spartan felt the same way. Zarkun had a decent game. Brandon Big was very clear. Like he was just like, no, this thing is super mid. And obviously PG, you guys saw that stream. So I just, I had a pretty poor attitude on stream when I was kind of reviewing this thing, and that has since carried over. So like I said in today's video, I'm not going to perpetuate that anymore. We're just gonna relax. And tonight we played Red Sec with the boys, got 2-3 victories, and had a pretty good little time off stream here. So we're gonna try and do those a few more nights instead. And yeah, when the game just becomes a chore, we're just not gonna do that anymore. But I wanted to make this video, and you guys let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys think that the torpedo and the spam slop is too much? Now, obviously, the battleship players are going to be like, yeah, it's too much. And for the most part, if you can position well in a battleship, even with everything that's out there, you still have options. But me personally, I think it's, everything is a meter, and I think it's teetering a little too much in the slop direction. But that's the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is a discussion post type video just to draw your attention to the algorithm. So like, subscribe, all of that YouTuber malarkey there. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. You're on out.
Peace.